Okay, so here is, let me see here. I want to make sure that my volume is still going to work. All right, cool. Okay, so Detective Nunez's statement. And remember, he was the first on the scene. Okay, so at approximately 14:56 hours, he responded to an unconscious call. He later identified as, which was Hunter, it says an H there, but it's redacted, reported her roommate, or no, it's a B, I'm sorry, Bethany, reported her roommate was passed out, not conscious, and not breathing. As I was preparing to leave the station, Officer Nunez, who was already on scene, advised of a likely homicide and asked for additional units. So this one, let's see, who did I pull up here? Okay. So this is responding officers with BC, BWC, Snyder, Warner, Nunez, and Smith. So this is a combination of all of theirs. So Officer Nunez was already on the crime scene. He had already stated and mentioned a homicide, that he's going to need additional support. The victims were later identified as Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, and Madison. Moscow EMS was asked to stage and not respond to the scene unless requested. A lot of people ask, why would they not want EMS? Well, number one, they already clearly knew that they were deceased. Clearly. And then the last question I got on it that someone had asked, I try to answer everybody's questions on the live stream, or I will either message back or something and try to respond back. But another question was, why was the coroner not there immediately? Okay, when you're dealing with a extensive homicide like this, the first person to, you have your responding officer, and then you're going to, they typically locate the prosecutor or what have you. But the coroner isn't needed. Generally, forensics is going to come in, and they don't touch the body. They're not allowed to touch the body or items like directly around the body, but they can process the crime scene. They can process the crime scene around it. And considering that it was so extensive, they didn't request the coroner until they at least got the majority of the crime scene, controlled. So after forensics had done their initial, what have you, then the coroner can come, which was around 4:00, and then forensics steps back in, and forensics is going to do their part underneath the body and so forth. So that's the reason for that. Okay, so moving along from the questions here. Okay, so upon arrival, I seen what looks to be an H, so that's going to be Hunter Johnson, because there's an H and a J. So Hunter Johnson crouching near the entrance to 1122. Johnson was in obvious emotional distress. He entered the first floor, which faces north toward the parking lot. I announced myself as a Moscow police officer and heard Officer Nunez and Warner respond from upstairs when I got sight of the second floor. I believe this female to be Xana. I looked inside the bedroom, and Xana was lying, and it was obvious an intense struggle had occurred. Xana was obviously deceased, and there was blood smeared on various items in the room and all over the floor. So there was blood cast off on the walls in various places, including above Xana's body. Xana was on her back and on the floor in the center of the room with her head towards the west. Xana was in her underwear and a long-sleeved gray shirt. Both her shirt and underwear were covered in blood, and Xana's face and body was covered in dried blood. I could see what appeared to be defensive knife wounds on Xana's hands, and there was a deep gash on her left. Let me pull it down here. It's going to end up being her left thumb, her pointer finger and her thumb. But let me pull it up here. Hand between her pointer finger and her thumb.